Mercy and blessings from above descend ceaselessly on Medina. People feel the joy, people feel the love in the city of Rasulullah. A perfect path he laid for everyone. He lived and died for us, what have I done? Mercy and blessings from above descend ceaselessly on Medina. People feel the joy, people feel the love in the city of Rasulullah. A perfect path he laid for everyone. He lived and died for us, what have I done? I have forsaken his...
We all know why we are here. This is an all-important day for all of us, particularly MSME across the world. This is the day that has been set aside by the United Nations to celebrate all micro, medium, and small enterprises across the world. And as such, Jaiz Bank PLC, in its program, said one of the things they want to do this year, like they've been doing, is to empower the customer, empower you and I, who are customers of Jaiz Bank, to ensure that we get the best out of this and that we are able to be empowered and given all that it requires to do our business better. So today, Jaiz Bank, in collaboration with the Nungu Business School, are providing us this platform for us to be able to work on this. So without wasting time, I will take us straight to the first presentation from, so Dr. Mohammed, over to you.
Thank you very much and good morning. Can you do me a favor, please, distinguished ladies and gentlemen? Can you just mute yourself? And I will implore the host to kindly try and mute all of us if you can, so that we can enjoy this presentation together. Thank you very much. What I'd like to talk to you about is, can we do that, please, so that we don't have noise distracting us from the background? Thank you. We know that there's a is affecting the business. So how do we continue to do our business successfully in the face of all these challenges? That's what we would like to talk about. And I want everybody to follow me. The first thing we're going to look at in the outline is to do a brief introduction like we have done before. And let's look at COVID across the world. We look at COVID in Africa and Nigeria just briefly. We are looking at COVID because it's the reason why we're doing what we're doing today, because it has triggered these challenges of today. Then we are going to look at global challenges, implication for Nigeria, and how medium, small, and micro, small, and medium scale enterprise should respond to whatever challenges that we have today. Somebody's talking at the background again. Is somebody raising any issue?
Yeah.
What's the issue, please? Can you hear me?
Please go ahead with your presentation. We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So the last on our this thing is to look at a revised business model that we have put together in conjunction with business schools around the world on how we can move forward in terms of activities today. Well, in preparing this for micro, small, and medium scale enterprise day, Jaiz Bank will like to, just like UN, they not only recognize the necessity and power of MSME, which are 2/3 of the entire world population that employ people across the world, and in Nigeria and worldwide, but also we must capture the opportunity to really be with everyone here, listen to us. This act includes sitting with your struggles. We know you are struggling. Some of you are still very successful. We're excited and happy to be part of you. Some of you have a lot of stories to tell us, and a lot more and more still have a lot of experiences to share. With all this, there are still opportunities that we can look at. This is all for the better life and for our mutual interests, both Jaiz Bank now and all our customers and clients that we are having this discussion with. Well, the coronavirus is the major issue that is causing these challenges, and this is what London Economics said. Let's not waste time with this. Across the world, as at Thursday, that's June 25th of June, we have about 9.2
We can't
million
hear you
people.
any longer.
There are 9.3 million people that have been so far confirmed cases of COVID-19, including 478,000 that have died from this. I guess some people can still hear me. So,
Yes, we can hear you.
so
Yes, we
in
can hear
Africa, there's been a lot of challenges. If you look second to the last point, there are 248,000 people as confirmed cases we have in Africa. Seems to next to what they have in Western Pacific, which means the numbers in America is 4.6, in Europe is 2.5, in Eastern Mediterranean 969,000 people, Southeast Asia 663, and Africa is 248. When it comes to COVID-19 in Africa, South Africa is leading, and Nigeria follows with huge size now coming up apart from the Northern African countries. So the challenge is that as this comes up and it keeps going up, there are issues. Let's look at it in Nigeria. If you look at the top right corner, you see Thursday, 3:49 p.m., 25th of June. This is COVID result for Nigeria. Confirmed cases 22,000, active cases 13,000, about 7,600 people have been discharged, and over 500 people have died. And this is becoming more challenging because as more people contact this, more people get to become active cases, some more are discharged, and a lot of people are dying. And we are not doing enough tests, which means if we have been testing more and more people will die, or more and more people will be confirmed to be infected, excuse me. So we are not yet at the peak of this. As it is, we have had experienced lockdown, we have seen curfew, we have seen restrictions, and this is impacting business worldwide. Sample tested is just 120,000. So we need to test more people. Out of 120,000, 22,000 already. So which means the case is on the increase, different from when we started. So what is happening as a result of this? There's been serious losses in terms of business that has been speculated according to JP Morgan. JP Morgan says that viruses could cost the world at least 5.5 trillion in the loss of output, which means we'll be growing outputs. That's our plan. We'll be doing a lot of businesses. That's the intention. We want to strive more. But then it is expected as a forecast that over 5.5 trillion will be lost. But if you look at what you have for the entire world, look at where we belong. It's enormous. Which means we have a lot of challenge. We must do something to be able to curb this. We must do something to restrict it. These cumulative losses will end. It's expected that it's going to end by 2021 because there's no medication in it. There's no vaccine. What we just experienced, what we know is that just been tested in some part of Europe and some part of the Asian continent. Some vaccines have been tested and just the clinical trials are going on. So, and it's going to take a while. Even after the trial, it's still going to take about 18 months to do the certification and start production and start usage. So, which means this is going to linger on for quite some time. We may not be able to see the end of this till 2022, even if the vaccine comes. And vaccine is the solution, not even the medication. Because if the medication comes, it may be challenging. So these are serious losses across the world, which affects every home, individual, both the macroeconomics and the microeconomics, which the business that we're talking to today belongs to. The implication of this is that the International Labour Organization fears that 38% of the world workers are at risk of layoff or pay cuts. It's either you're going to be sacked, that's the interpretation of layoff, or you're going to lose some part of your salary, depending on the percentage. Job loss is confirmed by the Labour Department in the US alone. Over 45 million people have lost their job between January and date. So In Africa, 26.4% of people are supposed to lose their job. If you look at African figure, you see it's 26.4%. Why? Because a lot of us don't even have job in the first place anyway. So the little we have, 26.4% of job owners, people that have job now, are going to lose it. The interpretation of this simply means that few people will have job, few people will have disposable income to come to your place to do business with you. It is likely that business is going to shrink. This is the implication. So within this period, some people will win in the industry depending on the business that you do, and there will be losers. The potential losers is people in the tourism industry and the leisure industry. You know what is happening now in the tourism. Hotels are shut down. People that are into leisures are shut down. They are not having a lot of fun now. Aviation and maritime, completely shut down. Nothing seems to be happening across the world. Only very few essential services are flying, which means people in aviation will lose their job. The automotive industry, if you don't move around, you don't need to use your car. So if you're in the car manufacturing industry or selling spare parts, the business is going to shrink, and it's shrinking already. Construction and real estate is a big challenge. People are not going to buy a new home. People are even finding it difficult to renew their rent and pay for whatever existing loan they have. Manufacturing shut down, or working half, 25%, 10% capacity. Financial services is a challenge, big challenge. Education, you know that our schools from primary school to secondary school to university are shut down. No serious activities. What they are doing online is very, very meager. The oil and gas also is in a losing stream. Until recently, the oil went down in terms of pricing to near zero. Our record shale oil was given even at minus, which means we pay you money to come and take product from our store at some point. So the business is not flourishing. When automobile is not moving, manufacturing is not moving, you don't need oil to do your business. So the only aspect of the business that are potential winners are the agriculture, because people must continue to eat. May not be at full potential, but at least they are doing something. E-commerce is okay because people no longer go to work, they use electronics device to do that. ICT also up because people must stay home, working from distance and working from home. The healthcare, because people must take medication. The virus does not have any implication on health. It's even additional health challenges. Food processing and retail, people must eat, no matter how terrible it is. The medical supplies, drug manufacturers across the world are manufacturing. They also have challenges on transportation in terms of logistics, but they are going to survive. So we have seen those that are win and those that are likely going to lose. This is what this thing tells us. So whichever business you're doing, somehow everybody that listens to me now will have business in and around some of this. If your business is completely out of this, but then you still have an idea of what you're going through now, which is a big challenge. So if this is the case, what then do we do? As an economy in Nigeria, I don't want to dwell much on this so that I don't waste a lot of your time. But what this is telling us indirectly is that it's been forecasted by various organizations. Even 2 days ago, the World Bank expected that there's going to be crisis. They forecasted that our economy is going to contract by 3.2%. That's the lighter mode. If an extreme case would be that if this continues and it lingers on to the last quarter of this year, the economy is likely to contract by 7.4%. If 7.4% is what it contracts, then it's going to be a big disaster. In the sense that it's going to take us a long while, for us to come back to get out of the recession. And when recession happens, we know what happens. More and more people will lose their job, more and more businesses will crush, more and more activation will not be able to happen. Banks will now begin to look at their loans. They are going to be losing so much, people will not be able to repay what is it that they borrow from bank. The support they get from banks and other organizations that lend money will be less minimal because they wouldn't have money anyway. People will have a lot of challenges. So, in a nutshell, the worst case is that we're going to go into a deep recession by Q4 of this year. And this is going to recover will be like 2021, towards the end of 2021. So that is what is going to happen to the economy if this persists. So implication for Nigeria, some of the things I've mentioned already, we know that our consumer and non-consumer activity is ratio 7:3. We are a consuming nation. We do a lot of things, and luckily for us, MSME is about 90% of all our activities in Nigeria. And if there's a recession or this challenge continues, an informal sector that accounts for half of our GDP, that's what we're talking about, and the people we're discussing with are going to have huge challenges. So we already talked about crude oil. We know that lockdown is a negative one, and this is ongoing. So the delivery stage, as an implication for Nigeria, will be very, very challenging. And it is likely that we must begin to do business different way than we're doing it now. So we now come to the meat of this presentation. I still hope that everybody can still hear me. What should we do now? Those of us that what do we do? Micro, small, and medium enterprises. The first thing we need to do is that we must create detailed relaunch map. Our business is down, there are challenges. We need to prioritize every recovery opportunity that we have. We cannot continue to produce like we produced before. We cannot distribute in terms of supply chain like we do before. We cannot continue to do the same system of marketing and sales effort before. Things must be completely different. Why? Because there's curfew, there's off days. You work on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays. Some days of the week you don't open your shop. You don't go out and do certain things in certain markets in certain days. So all this regulation guiding COVID-19 and impacting negatively on our business. So we begin to do a different planning, completely different from what we used to do. So we must look at each and every business that we have and continue to take all these factors into consideration for us to take this next move. Secondly, our customers are becoming so skeptical. They are so scared. They are so worried. They are concerned. And we have the responsibility as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to guide them through the safety. And you know what we always do: check people's temperature, provide hand sanitizers, get even payment device that is online. You don't have to continue to exchange cash. Some fast food companies now engage a lot of drive-through. You don't even go into fast food companies now to buy anything out. You don't go there. You don't sit down there. Rather, you buy and go out and take your whatever for restaurants and other businesses. And those that do collect services, you know, it's been very, very challenging also. So what we should do is that we begin to imbibe things that are completely different from what we should do. So that is the new normal. Hello?
We can hear you clearly, sir. Go ahead.
Good. So these are some of the new things that is coming into fold. And this is what we must do as a business owner now, because it's a turbulent time.
Can you allow us to record?
Safeguard health. Can we mute everybody, please? Can I finish? What should we do? Because we have seen and we've heard of some banks branches where people are infected are found to be positive to COVID-19, where they have to shut down the branches of the bank. Some companies have to shut down so that they don't infect their people and their customers and their clients. So it is important for this health and safety of our employee for us to take care. So we have to safeguard them. Revive demand. What has happened today is not because you cannot produce what you want to produce, or it's not because you don't have some stock, at least now in your stock, for you to sell. Or you cannot continue to do the offer service that you offer. No, that's not the issue. The issue is that the demand is shrinking or is not even there at all. So what do you need to activate the demand? Some of the things you need to do is to have to look at your pricing. You have to provide payment facilities or extend payment deadlines for people that are having challenges, for those that sell some credit to some people. And your marketing should reflect the new reality. You have to use more of the digital channel where possible. The last one I have on this page is that reboot. Hello? Reboot operation and the supply chain. The rest, to restart the operation, we must match both demand and the availability of supplies needed for production. It is a must. you cannot continue to supply, you cannot continue to get your material the same way you get it, and it's becoming more challenging. So you have to think differently, more strategically now, and at the same time, even tactically, because things change every day. This rule will come for 2 weeks, another one will come for 2 weeks, another one will start again another 2 weeks, which means you cannot do a long-term plan. It has to be tactical. As things happen, you begin to change and amend. So it's not a major change now, it's even adjustments. With a lot of uncertainty operation, we must be flexible. We don't even have a choice now. So all these are things we must do. Secondly, we have to imbibe technology. We cannot continue to do the same thing the same way we're doing it. You have to use more of the social media now. You have to use even POS machine. You have to use so many things for you to be able to do your job. Because it's a small scale or a medium scale, then do business with care. You have to be more careful now how you spend money, because where you source money from, you're not likely to get more money coming in. And there's a lot of value creation that you have been able to do now, doing what you're doing. You have to continue to do something that's very, very creative for you to be able to recover and do better business. People don't need to go to work. You can work from home if possible. You can do a remote one. Instead of having meetings and sitting down because of infection that may have, you can do video conferencing. You can use this platform we're using to have this session now. So it's going to save you a lot of trouble for people moving from one place to the other, because movement is even expensive, apart from being scary in terms of health now. So these are some of the things we must do, completely different from the way we used to do things. And unfortunately, a lot of us are used to doing things in the other way. So it has to change. And these are some of the things we must note. To do a quick summary of what I've said so far, in terms of what is it that we need to do, because it's a risk that we want to manage. And you must continue your business. So if you have a risk you want to manage, of health risk now, it's not just business risk, health risk. You have to manage it. So for your business to continue, then if you do the two together, you'll be able to sustain whatever it is you are doing. So the first thing is to plan, like we said earlier on. You must revise your plan, flexible one, and you start to be tactical. Your customer safety is very key. You have to provide sanitizers, make sure they use their face mask, make sure there's an opportunity for them to wash their hands if they come to your premises, you are doing business with them. Even putting hand gloves in case you are dealing with people directly. Your clients that you do business with, you can make phone call, you can make WhatsApp call, you can make conferencing, video conferencing as an opportunity, instead of you sitting down somewhere to meet and have this discussion. Your employee must be safe. They must also have these things to take care of themselves to be safe while they're coming to work. They can even come alternative days. Then you have to revive demand. The way to revive demand will include the way you do your pricing, not looking at heavy profits. Just be looking for sustainability in terms of your business now. You have to reboot your operation and your supply chain. You have to do it differently from the way you do it before. Then technology. You must use technology now. You can't continue to do business the same way. If you collect cash before, try POS option. Apart from the fact that it's safe, it's also secure for you. Do business with care, a lot of care. Don't waste your money. The money is not even there. So the little you have to save it. Then you will have created a lot of value now, or the value you have created over time. So see what people are doing, see what you think you can do differently, so you can continue to keep your business. I've given you an highlight in terms of what is it that we need to do. We have looked about 6-7 points of things that an SME need to do now and need to take care of. So, but strategy, we know that strategy requires clear, hard thinking. You can't just sit down and be looking. You have to do clear, hard thinking. And thinking is is what a lot of people don't do. And it's actually very, very difficult to think. Real creatively. And you have to do creative thinking, something different from what everybody is doing. And you need a lot of courage this time. You have to be bullish. You have to show personal leadership this period for you to be able to say, look, I have to take the bull by horn. I have to be courageous enough to take this bull. I know of a business on the island in Lagos that had 10 outlets. They serve people. People go to their outlet to serve food, to take food and order food, usually healthy food. With this lockdown now, their outlet is now just 3. They operate 3 outlets. They've shut down the number of outlets, 7 outlets. They reduced the number of staff. They now supplied people that place order for their product. They are now heavy on media campaign using social media. And people now log on to their platform or make phone call, and they supply and have these bike guys who now go around supplying and delivering food to their clients and their customers. That is creative thinking. That is courage. That is personal leadership. And this thing takes a lot of process and is very, very hard to do. So that is a strategy. So an integrated set of choice that have to position you uniquely in the industry so as to create sustainable advantage, because you must have superior value for you to be able to remain in business. So therefore, in Nungu Business School, we have a model that I would like to share, though this is just an intro to the model. Going forward, we have a series of presentations and ideas into the future for people that may be interested in knowing what is it that they need to do individually as a business. But the first thing, let's share this framework with you. This framework is usually popular with a lot of business schools across the world, like the Harvard Business School, the Colombian Business School. Very, very popular. And we have to bring it to Africa such that it's been remodeled for today because of the challenges of today and challenges going forward tomorrow. The first thing there is, who are you doing business with? And what kind of business do you do? Who are your clients? So your value proposition must change. You're not going to serve your client the same way you serve them. Your product and services are not going to be the same thing they do. You have to do what people want. People's need is what you are supposed to engage in, not what you think they need. And your pricing will have to be such that you're not intending to look at huge price because people don't have money to spend anyway. You have to look for sustainability. Then how do you intend to do this? You have to give people value in terms of your architecture. What kind of resources are you putting into this in terms of people? What kind of competencies do they have? Do they have the competency to develop value chain that you're looking at? How do you deliver? Do people go to your outlets before? They can no longer go. Even if they go, minimal people go. Why don't you go to them? Then how much are you looking at in terms of investing and revenue? And you have to look at your top line, your bottom line, your margin that you're going to get. Profit equation will change. You're not going to make money like you were making before if you are. Your revenue are not going to be big, certainly. But whatever you have, what kind of money are you making? If you're making 10, 15% before, can you bring it down for you to be able to sustain? If you have 10, 20 staff before, can you adjust this number of staffing? Can you do right sizing? And if you want to keep all of them because you need them in terms of the outputs, can you look at their pay cuts, possibility of pay cuts? And how much capital are you employing into this business? Do you need more? Do you need less? Can you pay back getting from? So we have this in details anyway, but for now, this is what I think is important for you to share with everybody here on this platform. And we can move forward from here. I'd like to say a big thank you to you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad, for this wonderful session. The question and answers should be asked in the column. So there to collate them. While we're doing that, we will bring in Dr. Femi so that he can have his own presentation. Please, for Dr. Femi actually is a very, very interesting presentation. You will enjoy him so much. He did quite a number of years training entrepreneurs. So Dr. Femi holds a PhD degree in business administration from Kwara State University, Nigeria, with research focused on commercial policy intervention and employability, coefficient in multinational corporation in newly industrialized states. He was adjudged the second best in the School of Business at Covenant University during his master program after graduating with magna cum laude Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from Lagos State University. He is a member of the Trade, Investment and Competitiveness Policy Commission at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG. He possesses requisite skills on international business and entrepreneurship, having facilitated courses, supervises both undergraduate and postgraduate students, and conducted several researches on international business, entrepreneurship, trade and commercial policies, as well as being actively in consulting for SME and how it affects employment and venture creation. He has a great career in academia and management consulting industry, and presently a lecturer in entrepreneurship and international business in the Department of Business Administration at the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, FUNAB, Nigeria, and also served as management consultant based on industry practice experience on unrivaled exposure to worldwide clientele in industry and real sector of the global economies. He has been part of many enterprise developmental initiatives and international conferences in Africa, Europe, and America. Welcome Dr. Femi Akimbola as he gives us this presentation. Thank you. I guess we're still having a challenge with Dr. Femi in his presentation. So we will have to kick in an alternative that we've prepared to back up his presentation.
If I may suggest, Doctor, why don't you make the presentation of his own slides, since we can hear you.
We have a backup already, so I'm going to...
Okay.
Already,
it's just a peculiar challenge.
Yes, he shared it with me, so I will just take it off from him now. Exactly.
That's what I thought we should do.
I think.
So we're looking at working capital, and you see, working capital has been looked at differently from different angles, but from this presentation, we're looking at working capital as simply the means and the amount required to do the day-to-day business smoothly. What you need to do the business on a day-to-day smoothly is what we call the working capital. That goes into what we as SMEs spend on a day-to-day to make sure that we're able to use it to fund our businesses. So the cost of buying our stock, turning our stock, doing our logistics, paying for our small bills on a day-by-day basis, paying for the salaries and the wages, as well as all of that accumulate into what we refer to as our working capital. So from another point of view, we can say that working capital is that part of the capital assets, that is the raw material, which is required to run the fixed asset, that is the machine, profitably. When you look at it from manufacturing, you now look at it as what is your capital and what part of it that you actually need to use to run your machine on a day-to-day basis, that becomes your working capital. In trading, it is looked at differently because that is what you need to use to turn up your stock and to pay your wages. So current assets are those assets that can be converted into cash within 1 year or less than 1 year. So yes, we have our stock in trade. And from our stock in trade, we might want to say, okay, we want to get rid of this and we want to sell this, and that accounts for our turnover. That turnover that we're able to turn up the stock on within a year are our current assets. So we also have current assets, which also include our cash, the cash that we have in Jaiz Bank, our debtors, people that are owing us, our bill receivable, people that are supposed to pay us, prepaid expenses like rents that were paid for a year. Dr. Mohammed did say now that some rent that in the real estate, a lot of things will happen to rent. We're beginning to see it, and a lot of rent will come down. So prepaid rent are also your current asset because you have not actually consumed them, and you also have outstanding income. While your current liabilities are the liabilities that are immediate to you that you need to pay, and they include, but not limited to, the liabilities which can be paid to respective parties within 1 year or less than 1 year at the maturity of those liabilities. And your current liabilities also include your creditors, your outstanding bills, your bank overdrafts, your investment that you have taken from your bank, and your loan that you have taken from them, outstanding expenses, and advance income that you have collected from them. Irrespective of the form of contract that Jaiz Bank has presented, whether they are on Musharaka, whether they are on Mudaraba, irrespective of whatever contract. Hello, can you hear me now?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, so Taking a clue from that, I'm moving. I'm moving to the table that shows the I'm moving to the table that shows the completeness of the working capital from different perspectives. Okay, so it shows the working capital from different perspectives. It shows the value and it shows the time. Okay, so in terms of the value, you look at the gross working capital as opposed to the net working capital. It looks at the cash and differences within cash and within the capital and the sale. And it looks at the timing in terms of saying, is it less than 1 year? Is it positive or negative cash balances that you have? Or are you able to pay for short-term loan or unable to pay for the short-term loan? This will happen in different businesses, especially in the time that we're facing at the moment. The time that we're facing at the moment will show us a lot of things that we need to actually look at. And from this point, we want to show a few of the stuff. Please take this poll.
I'm not connected.
What?
Is it not?
We're having amazing results coming from this poll. I'm going to stop it in another 20 seconds so that I can share the result with you. So I'm sharing the result of the poll with us now. You can see how it pans out. And you can see how this tally with even the discussion we had earlier on with Dr. Mohammed. So a lot of us have the challenge. The challenge is there and we can't run away from it. So it shows that some are very lucky, some don't even know, but 65% of all the people that have taken this poll today agrees that there is they have encountered working capital challenge. And we have 46% who said they've not, and 13% don't know whether they have or they don't. We also have 31% who said, I don't know what affects my working capital. They don't know. While 79% know exactly what has happened to their working capital, and 21% say they can't actually, they can't say. Okay, this is the reality of our time. Can I ask Adedeji Ibrahim to please shut down the video? Thank you. So this is the reality, and that's the way our asset and working capital will continue to behavior of our working capital in this particular important environment will continue to manifest itself in a way that we need to maintain our business rather than looking for making huge profit from our merchandise. Okay. Now, our gross working capital refers to the investment in all the current assets that we have made. Because as a business, we have different current assets, and it is also known as our gross current asset. So it's the sum of all of our current assets that are convertible to cash. So if I take a typical Jaiz MSME customer that has a retail shop where he sells fast-moving consumer goods, every item that you have inside of your store constitutes your convertible into cash, because you sell this thing off within a year or less than a year. So they form part of your gross working capital. It is the net working capital is different between current asset and current liability, which is the amount invested by the promoter on the current assets of the organization. So this is what the promoter of the business, all of us, most MSME, we are sole proprietorship. A few of us are limited liability company, but you discover that most of the money that you have put into this business are a result of our personal savings, some money borrowed from friends and family, some investment that has been advanced to us from Jaiz Bank. Jaiz Bank particularly, we're mentioning because of the tremendous effort that they've made in the last 3 years with the SMEs. So these are the money that we put together, but we must be able to differentiate this money as working capital for our businesses rather than money that we need to spend on ourselves. So these cash are not for us to spend on our individual person. They are cash that are meant to run our businesses. Now, the concept of having permanent working capital. This is the minimum amount of investment in current assets required at all points in time. It's always a very difficult thing, but it's also trickish. It's a good thing to have, but it is trickish. It's trickish in that you will need to be very disciplined to have things like this. Okay? You need to be very disciplined to have permanent working capital. You don't have, if I go back to our in-house example again of the Jaiz Bank customer that runs a provision store, fast-moving consumer goods store. He wouldn't have one cash for Maggi, one cash for another brand, one cash for macaroni, one cash for pasta. No, all the cash are put together. He looks at these stores and see which item sells faster. And on the basis of that, he turns them around. So the concept of having permanent working capital for him becomes a little bit dicey, but there are things that we need to practice. To remain in business in one form or the other, you need some minimum amount of permanent working capital at all times, which you need to run your business on a day-to-day basis. Also, growth with your permanent working capital also allows you to grow with the business, provided you are not spending it. Okay, so you have the money, and as your business is progressing, you're growing your business along that line with your permanent working capital, which is very good. So one of the ways to make sure that this is done and continue to keep it at flow is to ensure that those money are in the bank, and as long as they are in the bank, from the bank you can always take them to pay your suppliers. And in this era of COVID, you don't even need to get to the bank. You can do all of your transaction online and be able to make sure that payments are done from there rather than you handing it over to people. So it helps you to finance by long-term fund. So temporary working capital are variable working capital which required by business over the above permanent working capital. Additional current assets require at different point of time. So that you know that there's a seasonal fluctuation. Okay, when there are seasonal fluctuation, you know that okay, in this particular season I need to add more cash. When you need to add more cash, what you are bringing in at that point are temporary working capitals. But at the time where the season is also low, what you are taking out of that cash are also temporary working capital, which will decrease in depression period or off season, and you use it to finance short-term investment. Now, what we always advise SMEs and entrepreneurs is this: please, your temporary working capital, don't put it into a business that you do not understand. Don't say your friend has just come to you. You are in the business of telecommunication, and your friend has just come to you and say, you know what, they're making a lot of profit in automobiles, and you don't know anything about automobile. Don't put your money into it. You're going to lose big time. Do business in the area and in the space that you have a very good knowledge of. Okay, so next is we're looking at the issue of today's businesses. And we're saying it is an issue of today's business. What? Because today is an unusual time. And what we have today as an unusual time is going to take us a while. Really, we're going to battle with it. There is nobody that gets out of a pandemic overnight. Pandemic will live with us for a while. So yes, it is because every business landscape has become complex, competitive, and ever-changing. The way we do business yesterday, different from the way we do it today, is going to be completely different from the way we're going to do it tomorrow. Business and decision are taken differently using new parameters. So building a profitable business and ensuring its success in future is increasingly difficult. People today will look for things that will only sustain them. So it is our responsibility when we look at our business and we say, in the days past, these are the things we used to make. In today, it's not going to be like that. We have to look at it and say, how do we sustain our business and keep afloat? Also, it is facing problems like shortage of cash, heavy bad debts, cash block in inventories. Some of the things that we bought and we think before pandemic, before COVID-19 shut down, we can easily turn them around. Today, they are difficult. They'll be difficult because people will only buy the things that are only needed. And so we have to be careful of the kind of things that we keep, such that we don't go and collect products from people in the name of reselling, and it spoils our reputation because of late payment to our creditors, because of shortage of cash. We're going into a period where there will be shortage of cash, especially for people who sell premium products. And this all arises due to inefficient working capital management. So we must look at our working capital management and look at it and say, this is the way that we need to look at it differently. And this becomes very, very important for all SMEs. So we look at inadequate working capital on one side, the risk associated with that on the other side, and the insolvency. And we look at working capital and we say the adequateness of it and the survival. And boiled to that, we say the standard favorable ratio. Now we're looking at ratio when you start computing it. Now, these ratios are not cast on stones. So ratios are the parameters by which financial analysts tries to look at the health and liquidity of the company. So that is what they try to use it to measure. For a lot of us that keeps one or two books to look at the kind of businesses that we're doing, it also becomes very, very important that this is a point where we need to keep very good record, so that when we have our customer relation people from the banks or from the regulators come to us, we'll be able to do some ratio analysis and look at our business to say this is the best way for it to behave. But honestly, at this particular stage for us in business, this is a stage where we need to look at business from a different pair of lenses. We need to look at it from a different pair of lenses and see how we can sustain it. You have to sustain first before you can grow. You cannot grow without sustainability. So sustainability becomes very important, looking at the health and well-being of your business before you move it forward. So, importance of working capital management. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time where our working capital management skill is much more required than ever before. much more required than ever before. This is the time where we need that skill than any other time. So the skills for us to manage our working capital is much more required now than at any other time. So the techniques should be applied in different items of working capital, like our cash. We have to be careful with cash. One of the biggest advice we have given to entrepreneurs is that don't keep your cash within the reach of where you spend it. Put it in your bank. Our debtors, let us have a good negotiation with them. Inventory, let us keep only those